Good God. Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of Corey's Wall of Sound, and I think today we'll do one that I believe would be probably one of my favourite bands growing up for sure. And I'm talking about Skid Row. Very well known for the song I Remember You from the debut album, and 18 Life, and Musical Wild. It's probably known by a lot of people. So anyone that knows me knows that I've been in the band since day dot. The day their album came out, I got it over here in '89, the first album, and it basically carried me to the next point where I wanted to kind of be musically, whether it was in my head or what I was writing or whatever. It was definitely influencing me in a big way, to the point where I guess I ended up playing in a Skid Row tribute band back in '95. I'll put a photo of the poster up with all this to match with it. But yeah, so there's a bit of history. I've seen them live a few times. I've hung out with the guys on their first tour, and got to see them in '93 in Melbourne at the big show at Calder, the outdoor festival with Guns N' Roses and Rose Tattoo. And Skid Row have been here once with Johnny Solinger, their second singer, and Sebastian Bach's been here 3 times, I think, 3 or 4 times, can't remember. And I've got to hang out with him quite a lot when he comes over, and I know Rob DeLuca pretty well from his solo band, and which you'll hear more about in the future, with his other band, Spread Eagle, which I will do a special on very soon. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, now look, the band of Sebastian left in '96, '97. They had the fallout. Either he left or he got kicked out. Depends on who you want to ask. After that, for a very long time, they had a guy named Johnny Solinger, who was from Texas. Johnny's a great singer. He did some really good stuff with the band, actually. A lot of people didn't like it because it wasn't Sebastian, and I kind of get that. Sometimes bands can't really replace lead singers. Some have been successful at it, some haven't. Van Halen were very successful at it, and but most bands usually can't quite follow up with a different vocalist, and in other cases different guitar players. But and then also there was a time not long ago where Johnny Solinger got booted, and they brought in Tony Harnell from TNT, who has an amazing voice. Also sings in Starbreaker, but TNT I loved growing up. Awesome band. But yeah, he didn't quite fit with the roughness that Skid Row has, that kind of street sound. Tony Harnell is much more pitch perfect. If you listen to TNT or Starbreaker, you'll kind of know what I mean. The bands are similar in this kind of same style, but at different ends of that vocally. And now they've got ZP Theat, I think is how you say it, from Dragon Force. And I must admit, I've been watching a few live shows, and I actually don't think he fits that well. And I'm a bit disappointed. I think they probably could have gone for somebody that would have fitted the band a bit more. Look, I mean, he's great for Dragon Force, and you know, I've got Dragon Force albums, and he's good there. But yeah, it's just not working. Sorry, Rachel Bolan, if you're watching this, but nah, you have to get someone else in there, buddy. Anyway, now the band have got 5 major releases, but they also had a few EPs. So I'm going to run through the EPs first because I'm not really going to rate these. I kind of could, but I'm not. I'm just going to talk about them, but then I'll go through the albums in the rating that I rate them at. So I think the first EP I want to talk about is the one they did back in '92 when Sebastian was still in the band. And I'm talking about Besides Ourselves, which I also have here on vinyl that I got recently. So that's what we're looking at there. Now, this came in between Slave to the Grind and Subhuman Race. It was kind of like a bit of a filler for in between. This did pretty well, I believe. Now, the songs on here was Psychotherapy, that was sung by Rachel Bolan, the bass player. Come On and Love Me, the Kiss song. Psychotherapy is a Ramones song. Delivering the Goods by Judas Priest, they covered. And What You Doing, which is a Rush song. And Little Wing, which is a Jimi Hendrix song. So all covers and really good. This is really, really, really good. Little Wing is killer. There's 2 versions, one on the CD and then the other one for the video clip, which I thought was a better deal. Yeah, but Baz really does well. You know, the variations of vocals through those 4 that he sings are very, very diverse. So, you know, Come On Love Me, a classic Kiss song, he just rips into that. Delivering the Goods, he's killer on it, man. He really is, like, he's doing well. And What You Doing, he loves Rush. You can hear that. And he does really well on that too. So that's Besides Ourselves from '92. Really good. I'm not sure how hard it is to get on CD. Obviously, it's out on vinyl again. So actually, I don't even think it was released in '92 on vinyl. It probably wasn't. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, if you can find that anywhere, definitely worth a go. Okay, now with before Johnny Solinger left the band, they started doing a 3-part EP, which was all going to blend into one eventually. Once you got the whole 3, they were going to bring them out 1 a year. They got 2 of them done, and then they got rid of the singer, obviously, Johnny, and they've kind of delayed the 3rd EP, which I'm assuming they're going to have ZP singing on. Yeah, but I think these 2 are probably going to be a little bit better vocally than those. And I'm talking about United World Rebellion, Chapter 1. This is really good. This is a really kick-ass EP. And there's songs on it. Kings of Demolition, it's really, really good. Let's Go is cool. This is Killing Me, brings it down a little bit. Get Up and Stitches. And then they do a couple of covers on here. They do Fire Fire, which is by EZO, and United by Judas Priest. I personally think they probably could have picked a better Priest song to do. United's cool. It's, but yeah, I wouldn't rate that in my top 20 Judas Priest songs. But hey, they did a pretty good job on it though. Probably just could have chosen a better one. Grinder would have been cool. Part 2 is Rise of the Damnation, United World Rebellion, Chapter 2. And on here we had We Are the Damned, Give It the Gun, Catch the Four, Damnation Army, and 0 Day. And the bonus tracks on here were Sheer Heart Attack by Queen and Rats in the Cellar by Aerosmith, which is really, really good. But yeah, look, these 2 EPs, I think they're definitely worth, if you're a Skid Row fan and you can handle Johnny's voice and not be worried about Sebastian not being there, then these two are definitely worth getting a hold of. They're nice and heavy. They were kind of going back to what Skid Row musically were feeling back in the early 90s, like with Slave to the Grind. This was kind of heading back that way, but just falls a little bit short of that though, in my opinion. So yep, there you go, the EPs. I have got bootlegs and some other bits and pieces lying around. They've got a best of album. Actually, I'll make a quick mention of that. So 40 Seasons, and they did have a couple of tracks, Forever, which was a song that they didn't release on the first album, which is really cool. And another one, Fire in the Hole, which was a demo for Slave to the Grind, which I really like as well. And there's a couple of remixes on here, a different mix of My Enemy from Subhuman Race into another remix, slight variations on a couple of other songs too, and a couple of live tracks. Beat Yourself Blind live on here's pretty cool. Baz is killing his voice in it though, but that was just how he was live. But yeah, so 40 Seasons, I'm pretty sure this was released because the band still had another album under the contract, and because Sebastian was no longer in the band, I think Atlantic Records kind of panicked a bit and went, well, we're going to put something together and we're going to do it ourselves. I don't even think the band had anything to do with any of this. Yeah, so I think the band owed it to the company to make sure that they had one more release, and then they threw that out, which, you know, it's not bad. The fact that it's got songs on it that hadn't been released before was cool. A couple of remixes is all right, but they were remixes from songs that were on the album before, so it was, I don't know why they did that. Anyway, we're going to rate now the proper album releases, and we're going to start off with the one that came out in 2006. We're talking about Revolutions Per Minute, which was their last full-length album. Yes, in 2006. Quite a long time ago. There's really not a lot on here that sticks out. It kind of yeah, I don't even really know how to. The first song, Disease, is really good, and then it kind of dies off, and it doesn't really pick up until probably Shut Up Baby I Love You. There doesn't seem to be a lot of love put into this one. The band sound good, it's the songs that are lacking. Yeah, so that is my fifth favourite, or my least favourite out of the Skid Row collection. And at number 4 is the one that came out before that. The first one with Johnny Solinger, and we're talking about Thick Skin. Now, once you got over the shock that Sebastian Bach wasn't a singer anymore, I think, you know, if you can put that aside and listen to this with an open mind, this is a really, really, really good album. And I know that if Baz was on it, he would have nailed all this stuff, as you would imagine. But yeah, New Generation, Ghost is a great song. Yeah, look, everything. Thick as Skin, a title track. I Remember You Too. Okay, so they redone I Remember You in more of an up-tempo country and western style version of it, and it sucks. It's probably the biggest letdown on this album. Well, no, it is, definitely. Yeah, so, I mean, have a listen to it and then kind of put it away and don't bring it out again. Lamb's a really good song, and of course, Down From Underground is killer. And then they finish off with Hitting the Wall, which is really fast and heavy. Good album. Like, for the first one with Johnny Solinger, I thought this was yeah, worth it, and made it a bit easier to keep your faith in the band, I guess. My third favourite would have to be 1995's Subhuman Race. So the band were trying a different style on here. Grunge had kicked in after the success of their second album, Save the Grind. And, you know, people were starting to listen a little bit more of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Nirvana. And the production on this and the way they attacked it musically and vocally, you could tell that they were definitely trying to fit in a little bit more with what was going on without giving away too much of their grassroots feel. But it's definitely a very heavy album. It has got a few slower numbers, probably one or two too many, if anything. But My Enemy is a great starter. Fire Sign is a killer track. Beat Yourself Blind, Eileen. Subhuman Race, the title track's really good. Frozen. Medicine Jar is great. And Breaking Down, it's a killer ballad, Breaking Down. And Iron Will, finishing off with that, is pretty brutal. So Subhuman Race, 95, didn't really do well. Didn't do anything like the first two albums did. It was definitely a sign of the times of these bands kind of getting pushed aside a little bit. But yeah, and this is where all the cracks really started to open up with the relationship between the band and Sebastian. Yeah, so worth getting, I believe, but not quite as good as the first two. Okay, now picking the first two, well, picking my favourite. It's always quite hard with this band because, you know, the first two are always going to be my favourite. The first one had such an impact on me, you know, when I was 18 years old, and you know, it was a perfect album for the perfect time for me, and that does come second. So I'm talking about the self-titled Skid Row. Now there is a bit of a story behind this. Dave Sabo, the original guitar player for Skid Row, obviously, but he played in one of the original lineups of Bon Jovi. Him and John Bon Jovi grew up together. I'm pretty much either in the same street or just around the block from each other, but hung out a lot, playing guitar and listening to music growing up. And when Bon Jovi, or John Bon Jovi, was getting signed to a major, the company basically said, look, we want to sign your band, we love your band, except for the guitar player. He's too young and too heavy. And John had to turn around to Dave Sabo and say, look, mate, you know, they're not going to sign me unless I replace you. So everyone knows Richie Sambora came into the band, which ended up working really well for Bon Jovi. And Dave Sabo was kind of pushed down. But John promised Dave Sabo that if Bon Jovi ever became really big, that he would help Dave and whatever band he had to lift up and you know, hopefully get a bit of success themselves. So what happened was Bon Jovi became big, as everyone knows, and Dave had his band together, Skid Row. Sebastian Bach was actually found by John Bon Jovi's father and mother and father, who were at a wedding, Mark Wise's wedding, the photographer for a lot of magazines back in the days. They heard him sing up on stage that night, you know, with Zakk Wylde and doing some stuff with other people and bands and that. And Bon Jovi's parents suggested that they check out this singer to fit in with Dave Sabo's band Skid Row. So anyway, Baz joins the band. John Bon Jovi gets signed. But the deal is, for this album, through that little logo there, Underground, which is a John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora company, that all the proceeds from this album would pretty much go directly to Jon Bon Jovi as to help his mate. Now, that was okay to start, and it all worked out. Skid Row toured with Bon Jovi and then toured with Aerosmith and Motley Crue and went on to do bigger and better things. And yeah, but the band were pretty much locked into a deal with Jon Bon Jovi, and Jon Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora made a lot of money off this. There would be a bit of friction between the band and Jon Bon Jovi later on, to the point where him and Sebastian actually had a punch-up backstage. But yeah, so, you know, you help your mates out when you can. But yeah, to take the full amount of money of the of the sales is a lot of money, especially with songs like I Remember You and 18 in Life that both made it into the, I'm pretty sure, definitely in the top 20. Yeah, so there you go. That's the story behind the first one. But my favourite album was the one that came out next. And I'm talking about Slave to the Grind, which is 10 times more heavier than the first album. Lyrically, it is a lot deeper. Vocally, Sebastian is just running on all 8 cylinders. Not that he wasn't on the first one, but he was definitely revving out a lot harder on this album compared to the first. Monkey Business is a really good song. You know, there's so many, the whole album's really good. The one that probably lets me down the most, well, not lets me down, that's stupid, but the one that I probably play the least is Creep Show, and that's still a good song. But you know, you got, what do you got? You got Monkey Business, Slave to the Grind, The Threat, Quicksand Jesus, amazing. Psycho Love, Get the Fuck Out, Living on a Chain Gang, it's one of my favourites on this album, love it. Creep Show, In a Darkened Room, Killer Ballad, Riot Act, Mudkick is awesome, and Wasted Time, another killer ballad. If you want to hear heavy rock running on all 8 cylinders and more, this is an album. First heavy metal album to debut at number 1. They had a lot of success for that, and there's probably one album that I've got in my collection that beats this as far as my favourite albums go. And I'm going to quickly show you that album because I'm proud of it. That one there. So Spread Eagle, self-titled, is probably the only album that I like better than that one. But these two rate above, and quite far above, a lot of these other albums I've got around me. I'm talking my vinyls, which you can't see. I've got more. Yeah, it's crazy, but definitely my my favourite, Slave to the Grind. All right, it's going to run back through. Favourite was Slave to the Grind. My second favourite is self-titled, big guns on it, Sweet Little Sister. Youth Gone Wild, obviously, their first single off it. Making a Mess, Here I Am. Every song is great on here, every one of them. My third favourite is Subhuman Race. Subhuman Race. I'll go back to something in a minute, but Thick Skin is my fourth favourite. I do really like that album. And my least favourite, Skid Row, is Revelations Per Minute. Yeah, it's ordinary. 1 or 2 good tracks. The rest of it's a bit forgettable. There's no love in it. Just come back to this Slave to the Grind cover. I don't know. I'm going to pull it out of the plastic so you can see it a bit better. But Sebastian Bach's father was a very famous artist from Canada who actually painted that. And that picture has basically a story going on, all in the background, and that line up with the lyrics to each song. So you could look at a song and you'll look at a picture and go, yeah, that's part of that deal. Very well done. Very good painting. Awesome stuff. I believe he did art also on the Subhuman Race album too, but I'm not quite sure what bits he did because not all of it is from him. But anyway, yeah, so that's my Skid Row stuff. I thought I'd get this one out of the way because I know tomorrow night I'm planning on doing the Kiss one, the Kiss with makeup, and I've got a guest coming over to help me with that, and he's going to run through his list, and I'm going to be also talking to him about his band and what he's been doing over the last 35 years in the Perth music scene. So it's going to be quite interesting, a bit of a local guy coming in for a bit of a chat. He will sit quite far away from me, so don't panic. We're not going to get too close and hug and all that kind of stuff, all right? So you don't need to worry about that. But yeah, I guess until then, we're going to say goodnight, and I hope you enjoyed the Skid Row one. There's going to be more coming. There'll be more ideas coming too, you know, like I said before, interviews and other bits and pieces that I'm looking forward to sharing with everyone that's able to sit back at home and watch all this. So yeah, I guess until the weekend, we will see you soon and keep safe and whatnot. Okay. Bye.
Well, you know it better